Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life.
All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night. This is Art, and we are, as you can see, down a Matt and a Patrick. So it's going to be me doing a little bit more of the One Ring Strider mode, One Ring's sort of solo system. Matt and Patrick are walking the red carpet at Cannes for the Mission Impossible premiere. I like Europe. I like Scientology. I'm just saying it would have been nice to be asked, but I wasn't, so we're going to keep this going. And if you remember the last time, basically it was just a string of failures on my part. Just social failures left and right. In-game, in real life, of course. That's par for the course. We found these two camps. We've got a camp here called Thornmount, headed by a sort of an AWOL Ranger of the North named Hadant. And they're like, look, we came here to live a peaceful life away from all the troubles of Middle-earth. I'm sitting here thinking, my character, who is Eradan, also a Ranger of the North, a Warden, is kind of thinking, yeah, you can't get out that easy, though. You know, if you are a person that lives in Middle-earth, you sort of have an obligation to pick a side and stand up for what you think is right. But that's not what Hadant thought, so I failed in a counseling session trying to say, hey, what's going on here? But what they've learned, what I learned from like a secret meeting in the evening afterwards, because some people aren't 100% on board with what Hadant is thinking or choosing as a leader, there's a sort of a new dwarven group taking up refuge here in the Vale of Gold. And that one is headed by a dwarf named Flonar. Now, Flonar, is like, hey, we were just on our way, I think from the Blue Mountains. I forget where I said they were from. But they're like, we're just parking ourselves here. And we just want to be left alone. But the other camp had thought, ever since they showed up, some things have been sort of taking a turn that could be signs of bad things to come. Warg sightings are on the rise, and just something seems to be a little off here since this first camp of Thornmount had started. So I'm trying to get these two camps to talk to each other, help each other out, tell each other what's going on. I fail in both regards, and I'm like, okay, neither one really wants to have anything to do with me. Neither one takes what I'm trying to say seriously. Like, hey, there's something going on here. So I'm left to make camp on the shores of Lake Evendim, and I see across the lake in the ruins of Numinos, not like thousands of them, but like some torches, some movement, some activity. I've already encountered the aftermath of a warg attack down here, where a shepherd was torn to shreds with his flock. As I was walking here in the hills, I heard the howling of wargs. So I also am like, yeah, no, there's definitely something going on. And it's not that Flonar and the dwarves of the Vale of Gold necessarily disagree. They're just like, yeah, causation is not correlation is not causation kind of thing. Like maybe business is picking up here, but we got nothing to do with it. So we're gonna pick it up there. I'm not 100% sure. So here's what I was thinking. I failed to convince either of these camps that they need to team up. They need to take seriously whatever's going on here. I failed in that regard. So I was kind of thinking, okay, so what does that mean going forward? And in my head, what that kind of means is I need to investigate it on my own, hopefully come up with more proof one way or another. And I have no idea. And see if I can use that information to take back to the camps and see if it moves the needle for either group, either way. Got my Dunkin' Donuts caffeine. I've eaten a stupid breakfast, so I think I'm ready to go. So, I think where we last left it, like again, I was making camp at night, and I started to see some of the... And I was saying like some of the torches and stuff, I think orcs I think they can see in the dark, which was something that came up when I was running this for the AAC, and I just blanked on that fact. So, but let's just say there's still some stuff going on in the Numinos that I'm able to visualize, that I'm able to see, not visualize. And, well, maybe visual, I don't know. In my head, visualize means like to picture in my head. I can actually literally see it. So yeah, let's go from there. Let's do something I haven't done in a while. Let's do a weather check. Okay, again, so let's say we're going to wait till it's like late at night, a few hours before dawn. We haven't done a weather check in a while. Let's roll a 1d10, as it says here, weather's generated anew at the beginning of each watch. So I'm not rolling it as often as I should be, but here we go. Roll a 5. 5 means it holds steady at the same, so it's very cold. Freezing, it's spring. Let's get a check on the wind speed. We're going to roll a 1d6. 1, 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2, and so on. Sort of cutting it in half. 3, 4 is a 2, so it's going to be windy. I got 15, so it's very strong winds. Which, actually could... Ooh, so let's keep that in mind, because it's going to do two things. One... Whoops, wrong map. It's going to do two things. One, it's loud. It's not, deafening, but it could help mask my approach, but it also might mean my hearing is not 100% either, so let's keep that in mind. So we're going to start heading over to the shore. We're going to sort of, make our way around here. And let me unmask brush on grid. Yeah, let's unmask a little bit more around Numinos. And yeah, so, oh, you know what I forgot to do? Forgot to set up the, here, one second, let me do it. Let's see if I have to actually, 1 and 2, not sure which one. I want the Ironsworn thing going. Game system, game worlds. I have Ironsworn here. No. Ironsworn. There we go. Game worlds, Ironsworn. Fantastic. Okay, it looks like some updates have taken place, so they're trying to get that going. Oracle window, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. And then I think I want to do this, and then I think it's, nope. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let's just do some rolls. Places, settlement, turning point. Let's see what that does. Let's do a major plot twist. Unexpected powers. Oh, I see. So, yeah. So they give you a couple options. Roll twice more in this table. Both results, of course, occur. So let's do 2 more. Okay. Enemy gains new allies. New danger appears. That's sort of the middle one, but I think they give you 3 so you can sort of choose. A new danger appears. It was all a diversion. Okay, so let's I'm going to jot that down, keep it in our back pocket. Bust out my notebook here. I got a whole bunch of stuff written down that I've been taking care of in real life. Okay, so we've got new danger appears, and it was all a diversion. Well, I'm going to jot down both. New danger appears, someone goes missing. Let me jot down, just so I have those ready. Enemy gains new allies seems kind of, I don't want to say lame, but I feel like the other 2 might be more interesting for what we're dealing with. So we've got, it was all a diversion or a dark secret is revealed. Okay, so we've got a couple options there. Okay, so maybe what I do is, let's go back to this one. Added a bunch of new stuff. Let's see if there's anything we can pull out here to I thought I added some like city streets. Ruin City Day. So let's Ruin City Night. Let's open this up. So we get to maybe the outskirts of Anuminas, and let's bring myself here onto the map. So, you know, I managed to get close. You know, the activity is mostly within sort of the proper city, the ruins of the proper city, so I'm able to get, you know, it's not too hard getting onto the edge. And let's say I'm sort of looking here around town. So let's say, start using some of the mechanics. Chance meeting, what's this? I think these are all solo events, but let's get some highway. I'm looking, these are all encounters for Harn. Let me just see what we got going on here. Maritime, wilderness, urban, lawless night. Let's see what this gives us. Beggar, cripple, general activities at night, eating, drinking, gambling. Okay, let's roll one more. I'm going to roll 3. Street ruffian, non-criminal activity. Roll one more. Street cleaner. Street cleaner definitely doesn't make sense. Let's go with the street ruffians. And so what this is going to be is it's going to be literally a ruffian. It's going to be like a highway robber. That's what I'm going to grab. Now, highway robber, what did I know it says non-criminal activities. It's going to be criminal activities. He's being chased. He's being chased by 1d6 orcs. 2. Okay, not bad. Probably should have read the combat. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of orc guards. So I'm here. I sort of hear them coming. He's like, he's calling, screaming. You know, maybe there's like groups of bandits and stuff like that. You know, it's a bit of a lawless area. Maybe he's part of a group of bandits, a group of tomb robbers or whatever. And this orc activity is relatively new. So maybe he was caught a little off guard by like, hey, you know, last time I was here just robbing trinkets, I did not have this issue. All of a sudden I'm seeing orcs everywhere. And he gets ambushed. So he's being chased. He's trying to escape. Kind of yelling. And I'm watching. Trying to decide what would I do. Let's see. I should fill these in. It tells me what they are in the book, which is perfectly good. It's what they can do because they don't have the rights to the material. But it also means I don't have them on hand, and I don't want to like change them in the core items because every time this would get updated, it would overwrite what I've done, so there's no point in doing that. Let me just see what secretive is. And swift. Secretive is you do not easily share your thoughts and prefer to... Okay. Swift is you move swiftly and are quick to take action. Okay, so... I think that would fit, because I think when you can use these, you get like a bonus die. So what I'm going to do is... I'm hiding in the shadows. You know, let's say the robber's got a little bit of separation. And when he gets here, I try and grab him and yank him into the shadows. So let's see if I'm trying to think of what that would be. I guess stealth? Athletics? Might be athletics. I don't know if it would be stealth per se. Let's try athletics. Let's give myself a bonus die because I'm using my swift. And 9 hope points left. One thing I also need to do, something I often forget, is give myself adventure points. Now I'll figure it out next time. Is it adventure? I think it's skill points, adventure points. I forget what it is. You get 3 every session, basically. But for right now, let's worry about this die roll. Do I spend a hope point on it? I've got to be careful. I've got 9 hope, 5 shadow. That's what I've got to be worried about. Those 2 numbers crossing. Let's give it a shot. Is that going to do it? Success. Barely. Okay, so I rolled on my feat die 2, which is a really poor roll. Then on my success dice, I rolled 5, 4, 2, which was enough to get me 11 plus 2, 13, so I got the success. So as he runs by, I yank him into the shadows. And his initial response is like wide-eyed about to, and I just jam my hand over his mouth. And I sort of spin him down, you know. So I grab him, and then in one motion, as he goes wide and starts, I jam my hand and then just sort of spin him down and around the corner and down onto the ground in one sort of fluid motion. And he's all wide-eyed, but then he starts to see that I'm a fellow man, and he, you know, he's not like instantly calmed like I just handed him the world's best chamomile tea, but he is, he starts to like, okay. It's not entirely making sense, but he knows this actually might be better than his situation 5 minutes ago. So, okay, so I'm like, you're not going to scream? He's like, nods. I take my hand off, and then we both kind of turn and look around the corner. And the orcs sort of run by. And, simpletons as they are, they're a little confused, but they're like, oh, he must have gone this way. You know, and so they keep going down the street. And it's like, we've got to catch him. You know, good eating is on the menu. I'll make it a little, you know, hey, I'm going to make it my own. Meat's back on the menu, boys. That's so played out. Good eating is back on the menu. How's that? Clumsy? Perfect. So then they keep going. What I notice about them, though, is the markings. Now, the markings on their, I guess, shields, their helmets, their breastplates, I don't know what it is, but their markings are, let me see if I can pull this up. Where did I put it? I have it in the game, but I don't want to, yeah, let's look at it there. Because again, I sort of know what's going on a little bit more than I'm supposed to, but let's go here, description. The goblin shields and helms are marked with a symbol, the mark of a 2-headed troll. So now I've got to do an enemy lore. I don't know if I have that. I have a lore roll, but I don't know if I have enemy lore. I don't know if that's like a specific... So I'm just going to do a lore roll. They make it like enemy lore orcs, like it's a specific thing you can do. I'll just roll, see what happens. Great success. Okay. I know a thing about knowing a thing. All right. A hero with enemy lore orcs who knows this. Okay, so what I'm going to know is that this is a symbol of a goblin band that dwells in the Etten Moors, far to the east of Vale of Gold. And this is what I'm going to know because of the great success. I know that it is led by the orc named Hultmar Many-Handed. So I get all the info on that. Let's look at the Etten Moors. If I can remember where they are. The Etten Moors are far to the east. There's that. It's not important if I remember it or not. There it is, right there. You can see, I'm glad I was able to find it because it's sort of important to the bigger picture that, I sort of have an idea about because I wanted to incorporate some of the information from this book here, Tales from the Lonelands. So, yeah, Etten Moor. So, we've got a group of orcs led by Hultmar Many-Handed, having traveled from the Etten Moors all the way here to the hills west of Inuminas. It's a bit of a haul. And that immediately has me thinking, seriously, what is going on? Why has a band of orcs traveled that far? What could possibly motivate them to make that trip? So the orcs pass by, and I sort of look back out into the street and listen for a minute, even though, again, you know what, let's do another roll, because I was talking about that, how awareness, to give myself a penalty die because of the wind. Failure. Okay. So I turn to Chipper Highway Robber 1, and I'm like, Chipper, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I thought I was done for then. I had no idea what was going on. I just, all of a sudden, orcs were everywhere, and I had only moments to flee for my life. I'm like, Chipper, what are you doing here? And I see he's got like a pouch. I already know. I'm not stupid. Let me just, let me see something really quickly. Character, name. Let's see what it gives us. Let's go with Kulan. Let's make this guy named Kulan. So he's like, I'm Kulan. And I see he's got like the markings of, let me actually do another lore roll. Great success. He's got the markings of tomb robbers that I've seen maybe on my travels before. So I know he's a piece of shit. I know right off the bat, like, okay. And I look at his pouch, and it's heavy, it's full. He's clearly on the tail end of what he was up to. And so I grab him by like the scruff, and I, shove him against the ruined walls, and like, you stupid bastard, I should have let the orcs take you. You desecrate the memories and the remains of a great people, of history, of loss. And you sell that for gold. And I can think of nothing more despicable than what you are. I should have let them take you. And he's like, sort of closes his eyes, like, I know. And he looks for another moment, he's like, it's the only way I can find the money to eat. And I'm like, no. Don't try and absolve yourself by painting a picture where you don't have a choice. You know, maybe the choice isn't here, then you choose to leave. And then if that doesn't work out, you choose to move further, or you move south, or you move on. But you keep making the choice until you're able to land at the right one, you know, so to speak. And I sort of, with a quick, I cut the purse off of his belt. And I say, now go, before I myself, you know, put you down and, you know, leave you in the street for the orcs to find. And he's like, thank you. And he sort of scrambles, takes up, and he just dashes away. And he sort of cuts down this alley and off. Now, I then sort of step out. Now, as you saw a few minutes ago, I failed at an awareness test. And the reason why I failed, what that's telling me is that 2 more orc soldiers, they had split up, and 2 orc soldiers, thick and nasty, perfect. They come out while I'm sort of half stepping out to the street. So let's see if they have... There's a way to do... I think what you do is I think you use their attribute level as a penalty against your roll. So let me roll a stealth, which is good but not favored. And then I think this is how it works, not 36. I think it's a -3. Let me just double check. So it's attribute. So it's their attribute rating. So I think you just sort of use that as a general number. So let me just make sure, though. Attribute level, adversary is 143. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure. Like, this sort of came up last night. We were sort of getting some plans together to record, and then they sort of fell apart, and so I didn't prep. Okay, in combat, the numerical rating is applied as a modifier to several mechanics like special damage, opportunities, and fell. So I don't know if that's the same as... So I guess I might just do a... This it sounds like it's in combat. Let me just do a stealth roll to see if I get away with it. That doesn't look good, but maybe. 16, success. Okay. So I... In a heartbeat, you know, I duck back in, barely escaping their notice. And it's just like, do you smell that? And the other's like, yes, the wind is strong, but it's carrying a scent. Man flesh. And, you know, I stay pressed against the wall, wondering if, you know, like they get closer. Yes. And all of a sudden, thick orc, you know, sort of snaps his head to the right. He's like, this way, I smell it from this alley. And I realize they are now chasing after the scent of Chipper Highway Robber. They've caught his scent, and for some reason not mine. Maybe I'm a little more gamey, having lived out in the woods for the last 5 years, but and they take off after Chipper Highway Robber. And so, as I then sneak back out, I've learned that Many Hands, the orc, has led a warband from the Etten Wars here to the ruins of Enumenos for some reason. And I decide, like, okay, I've pressed my luck enough, so let me head back out. Now, as I'm heading back out, let's see what we got going on here. Telling might be the one I want. I want to know how likely is it that they... I'm going to roll it just to see what the options are. Certain, likely, middling, doubtful. What I should do is this. I should check the... Okay, so we've got certain, likely, middling, doubtful, and thinkable. I think it's middling that they catch up to him. So that's what I'm trying to see, the middling result. Middling, yes. Okay. So I head back out from the ruins of Enumenas. I get back to the edge of the hills. And as I do that, I just hear like a scream, like a blood-curdling scream. No, 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 please, no, no. And then silence. And I sort of listen for another moment, and I realize even if there was something I could do, I couldn't get back there in time. So I head back to my campsite, which is basically right here on the shore. Sunrise. The sun's coming up. I decide I need to sleep. I need to rest. This information is not going to go anywhere. It's not like, anybody's excited to see me in either camp, so it's not like if I rush back, they'd be like, oh my God, so please update us. So I just sort of make extra efforts because I'm going to be sleeping in the daylight just to make sure that it's not so easy to spot me. What would that be? Explore? Okay. So I managed to get some rest. And maybe what I decide to do is, okay, so I've sort of figured out something that's going on in Enumenas. Maybe I'll also try and figure out what's going on in the hills. Yeah. So again, I wait for night. Let's do another D10 roll. Let's get the next day's weather. An 8, which means we are going to be changing. An 8 is down 1, so it goes from a 10 to an 11. And you can see, like, this is part of why maybe I talked about this when I first brought this up, but this is part of why I like this table, is that I feel like it creates, it's not like, someone flipped a switch and now it's raining. Like, it creates, like, transitions. So it went from freezing, but now the temperature is edging up a little bit. Like, it's it feels like a natural weather change. It's now going to be clear night, where before it was partly cloudy. I guess I should have rolled for that. A D6, I think. Now let's find the wind. You can see the wind might actually be a little stronger. It could be a 1 to a 3, but before it was a 0 to 2. I might have done that wrong. The last session's wind, not last session, but the last night's wind might have been breezy because it was 0, 1, 2, and I probably went through 1, 2, 3, but regardless. Here we go. A 6 is going to be a 3, so we're going to be on the top end of that. Now it's gale. 30 to 55 mile an hour wind. So even though the temperatures are cool, it's no longer, I guess the freezing would be at night. You can see down here the key, yeah. So the wind, the temperature at night is really biting. To the point where, like, my breath is, smoking, whatever. You can see my breath, and I'm sort of having to pull my cloak tighter to shield against the wind. It's almost like you have to lean into a little bit. And I decide to head into these hills where, I've heard wargs, I've got orcs over here, and I start to explore. Let's figure out if I see anything in these hills. So we don't need name. What is monster hunting? No. Actually don't need this. Let me see what happens if I go to my Maritime Wilderness Encounters Night. Let's just see what happens when I roll that. Wandering Band. I'll roll it 3 times. Lame horse or equipment. Okay. You're wondering, you're seeing Gargoon. In Harn, orcs are called Gargoon. That's what they're called. Goblins, orcs, I think. So we head into the hills. Let's see what we got. There's ones I could have grabbed, and I don't know if I did. So we're in the woods, hills. And we spot up ahead a horse. I don't know if there's things for that or if it's just like common. I don't know if it'd be, I don't know if there's animals, but so let's just say we find a horse here. And it's down on the ground, shallow, rapid bleeding. And just its throat is mostly ripped out, and there's, clear evidence of like claw gashes along its side, so you can see like its flesh is ripped open. Pools of blood is pooling underneath the poor creature on the ground, getting soaked into the dirt, making it a little muddy. In this really cold, frigid air, the blood itself is creating, you can see the steam from the blood coming out of the horse. And it's like, making like short, shallow, rapid breaths, snorts, and then it just stops. And I sort of, I sense that the poor creature is past, it's not suffering anymore. And let me see. I think it's explore. Awareness I always thought was more like insight, like into interpersonal kind of things. Should be a decent roll. There we go. Great success. Did I get a 6? I did. And yeah, so in the night, it's a clear night, so maybe it's not such an amazing thing that I pulled off, but I see footsteps, leading off the trail into the woods. And I also see animal tracks following after it. All right. So I follow the tracks into the woods, and eventually you know what? Okay, let's ask that middling table again. I'm going for a likely. Likely, yes. The question I was thinking in my head was, did whatever killed the horse catch up to whoever the footprints belong to? And the answer, likely, yes. So I come to like a little clearing in the woods, and I find there a corpse. And the corpse is being just sort of savaged by 2 wargs. I don't know where wargs... Seems like they'd be here somewhere, right? But they're not wolves. Well, I'll just pull some out. Ooh, it didn't bring the pictures. Interesting. But yeah, that doesn't look like a warg. Anyway, so, a couple of wargs are feeding. And because of the really strong wind, it's hard for them. Maybe one like cocks his head and looks around, but, but doesn't really, I make sure to stay downwind once I know what I'm looking at. And they keep tearing into it. And then one's trying to eat and the other one snips at it, chases away. And then the other one sort of comes back and then just works on the foot, and the other one accepts that. So they're sort of like barely sharing this meal. And then they, leave, a few moments later and they start making their way in the direction of the horse. So they get to the horse. They go back towards the horse, and I go back toward the body on the ground. And as I approach, I actually recognize what's left of the face. And it's one, if you remember back last session, I went to the camp of men. Thornmount. Eradan does his thing, but there were two people that didn't exactly agree with Eradan. So they snuck out to the camp and they came and spoke to me. That's one of the people that's on the ground. And so I look, and I look at the body, and I take a moment, and I'm, saddened that such a brutal end came to this person who I probably thought was all right, He was willing to sort of break ranks a little bit and fill me in on details that, I probably needed to know, but were being, sort of withheld. I understood that he tried to do the right thing. And so okay. So I search his body. I think I have an idea for what could be on his body, but let me just see if there's something here that could make it interesting. I don't know what exactly to look for. I'll do another major plot twist. What did I get for the other ones? You're too late. Yeah, that's clear. Okay. A true identity is revealed. Let's work with that. Let's work with that. So he's carrying a note. He's carrying a sealed letter. This sort of plays into what I was thinking of, but it sort of spins it off a little bit in a different direction. He's carrying a sealed letter. And when I find the seal, the seal is mostly intact. I mean, the poor guy was just ravaged, so maybe it's cracked. But it managed to somehow stay mostly intact inside like a scroll case. And I open it up, and the seal I instantly recognize as the seal of like Gilrain the Fair. So I immediately realize oh, this guy isn't an AWOL warden. For some reason, he's a genuine warden. He's still yeah. And so I sort of crack the seal, and I realize it's a writ stating officially, yes, this person's still a warden. And for some reason, he was carrying it on him. It seems like this is probably information that the group at Thornmount, at least not everyone knows. So for some reason, he took this information and assumed the risk of putting it on his person, where it'd be more easily found. So, okay, so why did he do that? So what I do is I sort of pocket that, and I can hear like, whoo, like, howling of wargs, and I realize that there may be more congregating at the horse. And so I sort of sneak back. Now, would it make sense? This is one of those times when, like, my lack of lore knowledge might be a little bit of a problem, but what I'm going to say is that when I see the wargs, I'm able to make out that they're, like, marked with the same two-headed troll that I know is the Goblin Band in the Ettenmoor. So now I'm starting to piece together that these orcs have come from the Ettenmoors and they've brought with them the wargs, so they're all sort of connected. It's not a coincidence that the two things are taking place. And so I sort of like skulk off with that information, and with this information that there's like this letter in my pocket. And I imagine that's probably what I get done for the night. I was thinking, like, would I try and... what could I do for the poor ranger's remains? That's what I was trying to think. But I understand, like, the wargs could come back at any minute. Like, there's nothing I can do for the poor guy. And I'm starting to piece together some things that I can't afford to have something happen to me as I'm piecing this together. And so I make the tough choice to let him be and make my escape. And so then I head back to camp again for the night, and I realize, okay, I need to go to Thornmount, and I need to figure out what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an explore roll. Automatic success, nice, because I got the Gandalf rune on the feat die, because it was favored, very nice. If it wasn't favored, I think I would have failed. I only got 7 on the success dice, so my other D12 was a 4, so that would have been an 11, would have been a failure, would have fallen short of the 13. And so, again, that roll is sort of like I'm sort of camping a little bit into daylight, and so it's a little bit riskier, it's a little, more obvious, that I might just be sleeping and be more easily found, but because of these rolls, I do a good job holding up and covering my tracks, so I'm able to get a decent rest. But I cut this rest short because I decide that I'm going to have to go back to Thornmount and start the discussion of what's going on. And I think even though it's a little bit of a shorter session, I want to stop there. Fade to black there. Because I feel like this is sort of, wraps up this chapter. And I feel like now taking this information to Thornmount sort of begins the next little chunk. So I'm going to stop here. And, and pick it up next time. I know, again, it's a little bit short, but that's okay. I hope this was okay. Again, I'm really... I genuinely love the One Ring Middle-earth. The Strider mode for it. Like I was saying at one point when Matt asked me, like, Caer Nathalis, I probably played... well, at this point, who knows? But I played a ton of Caer Nathalis, and mechanically I really liked it, but there wasn't stuff drawing me into the world as a whole that would want to keep me there the way something like this does. Even like Dragonbane, which I want to get back to in solo mode, like it doesn't necessarily, it fits that it's sort of like a dungeon crawl game, so it gives you like these chunks. But I don't know if it creates an overall narrative that would make me want to keep coming back for more. It's more just like, yeah, let me get some Dragonbane in. I'll do a quick session and then you sort of walk away from it. Where here I'm pulled further in by the possibility of the overarching narrative, which I don't get from like Caernathalis, and I didn't get from Dragonbane, but I'm sure I could do it. But the lore, the world, the way they set up the adventures is meant to be more bite-sized chunks. So anyway, this has been Black Lodge Trivia Night. I'm Art. This has been another One Ring Strider Mode session. If you're watching this, you've already found our YouTube channel, and if this is your thing, like and subscribe. I guess click the bell for notifications. I guess that's a thing. Leave a comment if you want. If you prefer audio versions of this, just search for Black Lodge Trivia Night wherever you get your podcasts, and we should show up. We've got a Discord if you want to jump in and chat about RPGs or CRPGs. Click the link, join, and we'd love to have you jump in. And what else? We've got a couple things going on at the moment. At the time of this recording, we have just wrapped up our Mithras Cold War Espionage, the second chapter. So we're gonna do a bit of a programming change. We're gonna sort of pause that for the time being, and we're gonna try and focus on one thing at a time. And as that wraps, we just take up the next one instead of we were trying to alternate to give GMs a little bit of time to prep if they needed it. But it's turning out we don't really seem to need that. So now that Cold War Espionage is done, we're going to hopefully really focus on Matt's Symbaroum, what he's running with that. We've done a couple of sessions so far. It's been great. And then we can get to Patrick, so we can sort of get the rotation hopefully spinning faster. But CRPG-wise, I do my dumb stuff. I've done a little space trucking with X3, but the main things are Lord of the Rings Online. I continue to do the book quest. I'm in Volume 3 at the moment, which is sort of heading south following the Grey Company into a region. I'm sure we're headed towards Rohan at some point to help Aragorn in his efforts. And then I don't know. I started another CRPG after I finished Ultima. I just don't know when the first one's going up. But whatever. If it's up, it's up. If it's not, it'll be up soon. So thanks again. Hope everybody's doing well, and take care. We'll be back to this. We'll be back to the other stuff soon. Bye-bye. The in-session music was provided by Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find the Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music. That's all one word.